Good morning and welcome back to day three of psychoeducational approaches for supporting students with learning disabilities. Welcome to our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. Together with me, we have Professor Dr. Sharifah Mariam Al-Junid from Singapore who have been sharing amazing beneficial insights from day one, day two, and now we are on day three. So earlier we had this close discussion and presentation with our participants in Zoom, and now we're open to our viewers who are able to join us now from the Southeast Asia region in YouTube and Facebook. So welcome, and we hope you have a beneficial learning session and do enjoy learning with us. Kipra Sharifa, are you ready?
Right, thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, let's start by sharing my slide. Before the break, those of us who are here actually did a very personal sharing about our own experiences as teachers um, working with parents of children with disabilities. And then after that, we realized that even among our community, our close community here, uh, people have varied experiences, and some of the teachers here are also are themselves parents of children with disabilities. What we learned is that at the first instance, when we think of the engagement from our perspectives, how we as teachers think about when we talk to parents of disabilities, this is the words that come to our mind. Oh, it's a hard discussion. It's so hard to reach out to them. They're in denial, right? There's mental fatigue for me. It's frustrating for me. I don't know. It's challenging. The parents are overprotective, and so on and so forth. Close-minded, right? And yet, after just when we put that aside and start to have honest, genuine conversation, and we listen more than we talk, the same group of people shared these sentiments, from seeing it as hard to seeing it as hopeful, from seeing the lack of cooperation, we see the possibility for support and cooperation. Right? A lot more positivity, a lot more sense of gratefulness, a lot of empathy, concern, as well as feeling blessed and acceptance. And I think that experience really remind me of how much is the power of empathy. And that is something, perhaps a strategy that is often underrated and underused, right? Giving opportunity for ourselves as teachers to empathize, but also for other colleagues in school to walk to walk a mile in the shoes of parents with disabilities. With that understanding itself can help us to work with them. And one of the points that often emerge when we talk to parents of children with disabilities is that we find that they don't just think about the here and now. They don't just think about the learning or think about the exams. Many of them, their concerns and their struggles is with lifelong questions. They think about, oh, what's going to happen when he grows up? What's going to happen in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 30 years' time? What kind of life is he going to have? And that's the perspective that we want to discuss now, thinking about the long-term impact on what we do now as teachers and parents. For that, I want to introduce to you this notion, the quality of life perspective. Right? For the past 2 days, we've talked a lot about the ecological perspective, right? The ecological framework. This doesn't replace the ecological framework, but this is another lens, another perspective that is also important for us as educators of learners with disability to have in mind. What is quality of life? Okay, quality of life, as defined by World Health Organization, is an individual's perception of their position in life in the context of their culture and value systems in which they live. Keyword here is the individual's perception, not my perception as a teacher or the parent's perception as a parent. Those are important, but the individual with disability themselves. What is their perspective? What is their view? Right? What is their expectations? What is their concerns? What is it that they want? In our sharing just now, a few of you highlighted it's so important to give opportunity to the voice of the child to be heard. Of course, it's not the only way, but sometimes teachers have a lot of ideas in terms of what the child should do. Parents also have their views about what the child should get and should do. And for good reasons, the parents want the best for the child, the teachers want the best for the child, but sometimes we may overlook what is important to that child, what would be valuable to the lived experience of that child. So this is why I think many researchers, many educators, and many policymakers are saying, other than just looking at outcomes in terms of learning outcomes, in terms of academic progress, in terms of IEP goals, functional goals, those things are important, but let's include in that an aspect that asks ourselves, how does this intervention affect the quality of life of that child in the long term? I want to share this research that was done in Singapore a few years ago by the National Council of Social Service. What I will do is at the end of the day, this is available on the internet, so I will share it with Suhaila so she can upload it in the Google Doc. It's available on, you can Google it and then you can get a copy. This was a study to look at persons with disabilities in Singapore, specifically asking them about their quality of life. The goal of the study is to ask them, what is it? Two questions. How is their quality of life? Secondly, what are the things that affect their quality of life? What are the things that they have experienced that make their quality of life better? What are the things that don't really matter? And which are the things that really reduce their quality of life? Right? So, this is for those of you who are very interested in research. This is the sample size. So it's persons with disabilities who are older. Because the point of the study is to find out among the older individuals what helped them when they were younger. So when they were school, so they are now above 18, but we ask them, looking at your life back, what are the things that mattered to you and is contributed to your quality of life right now when you are in that? Okay. So almost 1,000 individuals were interviewed with all the kinds of, so some learning disabilities, physical disabilities, sensory, some were blind and some have hearing impairment or deaf. And there's also some who have multiple disabilities. Okay. Some of them, almost half attended special education, 42%. So quite a variety. And the researchers use a standardized instrument to measure quality of life. So this is interesting because researchers everywhere, even WHO and maybe I know also places like UNICEF, policymakers, they are using quality of life as important data to plan about provisions, to think about what are the services to provide. They're looking at quality of life to think about, okay, what services do we provide that will really improve the quality of life? Right? Not just based on what we think would improve, but from the perspective of the individuals with disabilities. So this is why I think increasingly you'll see more and more researchers, or maybe people in the organizations like WHO and UNICEF are doing research and surveys based on the quality of life instruments. Okay, so as you can see, the quality of life survey, it looks at these dimensions, right? Personal belief, social relationship, psychological functioning, the level of independence, the environmental support, and the physical functioning. Okay. Red is the general population, which is persons without disabilities, and the yellow one are the persons with disabilities who are interviewed in the survey. As you can see, across all dimensions, the quality of life of adults with disabilities is significantly lower than those without disabilities. This is an important function, right? So again, even from their own perspective, there's a lot more that we need to do to improve the quality of life of persons with disabilities in the country. But the question is that before we try to, okay, we must do more. But what is it that we need? There's so many things we can do, right? So many things we can do, right? So using this approach, we don't just start doing what we think is important. We must first understand, okay, of the many aspects here, which aspects actually is the one that the people with disabilities want the most improvement in? Which aspects from their perspective is the one that really needs the most improvement, and which are the one that actually are all right? You don't have to make much changes in that. Okay, so this is the survey digs deeper into which aspects of quality of life is the one that needs the most improvement, and I'm going to show you the data now. This is just now again some of the findings. Okay. Let me go to the next one first. Okay, yeah. So looking at that, so these are all the measurements. So we asked them, which is the one that from the perspective of person with disabilities, which are the areas that need to be improved the most, that require the most improvement? In other words, the one that right now you need to do a lot more before their quality of life improves. Notice on aspects of personal beliefs, they are saying, no, this one doesn't need much improvement, it's fine. Don't put all your effort there. Social relationships also is okay. It's not too bad. Okay. Physical, so-so, average. Environmental, also not too bad. But what is the two aspects that they feel need to be improved the most? Which are the two aspects that they feel really need to be improved so that they can improve their quality of life? The top one is independence. What are they telling us? They are telling us that if you want to improve my quality of life, please do things that will make me more independent. Think about that. They're not saying that, oh, please, I want you to do more things for me so that I can get somebody to help me to do things for my daily living. Please, I want somebody to help me in my feeding, give me more money so that I don't have to work. Please help me, please help to make decisions for me. They're not asking for that kind of help. They are wanting more independence. Please do things that will make me more able to be independent, because if you do that, that's the one that's going to increase my quality of life. So I think it's important that we listen to that. This is another interesting belief. This one, the survey asked them, okay, which are the aspects that is the worst that you are experiencing right now, and the aspects that you feel is the best. In other words, it's really good in terms of your perspective. Okay. So they ask them, okay, do you feel not discriminated, social acceptance, future prospects, the choice, advocacy, are they respected by others, their own communication ability, social network, their autonomy, how much control they feel they have in their life, how much personal potential they feel are being recognized and realized, and how much social inclusion they experience, and how much they can be given a chance to contribute to society. The longer the bar means these areas are what they are happy about. The worst, these are the areas that they say this is the one that really lowers their quality of life. What do we see? Interestingly, when it comes to discrimination, what are they telling us? Do they feel discriminated? No. No, right, because discriminator is actually one of the better ones compared to the others. But what is it that they are really struggling? What's really is lowering their quality of life? The lack of social inclusion the lack of being given the opportunity to contribute. I thought this is a very interesting data point for us. It tells us that in this sample, the persons with disabilities don't feel discriminated. They're not feeling that people are judging them badly or making bad remarks about them. They're not feeling that people are looking down on them. However, at the same time, they still don't feel included. So it's interesting. We can not discriminate. In other words, we don't look down, we don't call names, but it doesn't mean that we include people, right? Inclusion is more than just non-discrimination. I'll give you an example. Say a school or a system implements a policy of full inclusion. So no discrimination. You have a school that says any child, regardless of your disability, you can come in. No discrimination. So no discrimination, right? Right? Yeah. No discrimination. You can go in any class, you can go in any activities, no discrimination. However, just by having that, it doesn't mean that the child will be included. Because if your PE activity is not customized to meet the child, then the child will just be at the sideline. If what you teach can only be understood by children with good communication abilities, then the child with poor communication is not going to be included in the teaching and learning. Similarly, if in the playground or during recess, children are playing, but the child with autism, or there's no help to help the child with autism to have a circle of friends, he's going to be socially isolated. He's not going to be socially included. So to me, this is a very powerful and important reminder for all of us. No discrimination doesn't mean you have inclusion. Because as this survey shows, the person with disabilities are saying that, we don't worry about being discriminated because people generally don't look down on us. If I want to go into a building, nobody say cannot. And usually I think in Singapore, many of the buildings are also disability friendly. There are lifts everywhere, even in our schools. So no problem in discrimination, but it doesn't mean, but they still feel socially excluded. They still feel that more could be done to help them contribute. So interesting, huh? They're not asking for more help. They want more opportunity to contribute to society. This is the voice of persons with disabilities, and I think we need to pay attention to what they're saying. So, okay, again, don't worry about the data. For those of you who are maths teachers and you really enjoy data, go ahead and enjoy this, right? For the rest of you who just want the key message, this is the key message here. What does it take to be truly inclusive? What does it take? What does this data show in order for us to truly include persons with disabilities? 3 things that make the greatest impact. 1, social inclusion. Include that in our social activities as much as possible. Secondly, put effort to improve understanding and communication. And lastly, in whatever we can, see how we can increase their participation in society. So 3 things, and this is evidence, this is what the data says. Put effort for social inclusion, create understanding and communication, create opportunity for participation in society. The study also shows 2 other important findings that I want to share. Among the persons with disability, we see that some have higher quality of life than others. What they found is that for persons with disabilities who continue to participate in sports or physical recreational activity after school, their quality of life is higher by 1.6 times Think about that. This is not therapy, or this is not about whether you get a degree. This is not about academics. But if a person with disabilities continue to participate in sports and physical activity in the community, their quality of life will increase by 1.6 times. What does it mean? So right now, teachers, if you have children with disabilities, whether learning disability or autism or any others, some people have shared just now. Because of their disability, sometimes, what do some teachers do? PE, you don't need to come lah, right? It's so troublesome to include you. Oh, music, never mind. Music is it's non-examinable. So no need to join in. Let's exclude the person, right? But what if the person is excluded from things that the teacher or the parents sometimes also think not important? Oh no, let's focus on just the reading and academic because that's going to be important. But in fact, if the child participates in sports or physical activity, that's the one that's going to increase their quality of life by 1.6 times. This is important for us to know, important for us to share with parents. And this is important when we currently decide what is it that we want to prioritize for us to intervene and develop now when they are young. Because if when they are young children and they're not used to going to the playground, they're not used to playing ball, you think suddenly when they're 21 years old, they want to do that? Cannot, right? They're not going to continue participating in sports or in physical recreation if they all their education life they've never had the opportunity. So this is something to bear in mind. Yeah? Look beyond the academics. Sports is important, not just for health, not just for physical health. It directly impacts quality of life. The other aspect, I think, with I recall maybe Christina mentioned earlier this morning during the closed group sharing, giving them their voices, encouraging self-determination. Of course, it's important to get the expert's view. It's important that the teacher also gets her view. But at the same time, we also want to find out from the person with disabilities, child with disabilities, what is it they want. And of course, sometimes they may not know what they want, but at least we hear them out. You recall yesterday afternoon when we talked about the circle of friends, right? Many of you were involved in the activity. What is the first thing that we have to do? Say a teacher realized that, yeah, I want to do this for a student with autism. I want to implement a circle of friends because I think this is useful. What is the first thing that they must do? They must get parent consent, correct? Is that enough? No, they must also talk to the child. The child with disability must first agree, first understand what it involves and agree. This must happen before you talk to the peers and recruit them. Then if you look at the lesson plan, in the first meeting where you have all the circle of friends there and their peers, in terms of discussing what to do, what areas to help, we don't just ask the volunteers, peers, oh, what is it that you think you can do? They may state what they want to do, but we also have to ask that student with disabilities, what is it, what kind of help do you think they can give you? They want to help you in class this way. What do you think? Do you think it's helpful? Is there any other way? So always involve the student with disabilities when we are making decisions that affect their lives, right? After all, it's their life, we should have their voices. And this is something that we need to start them getting used to from young. Because if they are not used to expressing what they want from young, when they become adults, they may not know how to do that. Okay, maybe I stop for a while and ask questions before I go on to the 2 case studies. I invite you to share on the concept of quality of life and what was shared from the survey. You can put it in the chat, or maybe raise your hand and maybe we can give you an opportunity to share.
Is there anyone here who would like to share or ask questions to Prof? You can just raise your hand. So, okay, May Bazadia, hold on, yeah.
Yes, May, please.
Good morning again, Prof, and everyone. Yes, I would just like to share my experience as a teacher. Actually, I am a teacher in senior high school here in the Philippines. Our place is a small city in down south in Leyte. And for 6 years, no, this is a mainstream school, San Rafael Standalone Senior High School. We offer TVL, technical, vocational, and livelihood tracks for senior high school. So that's our specialization. And for 6 years, we've been having students who enrolled. They have either learning disabilities, undiagnosed learning disabilities, or physical disabilities, PWDs. Yes, and during those times where they were with us, we tried to incorporate them to the regular classes. There was no, I didn't, as the guidance designate of the school, and at the same time, I was also a subject teacher and an advisor. I tried to take charge of the situation so that no discrimination will happen to these students. And then me and my colleagues, my fellow teachers, we tried to incorporate, we tried to do activities that can somehow involve them despite their disabilities. Although I did notice, we really did notice that because me and my colleagues, we are not trained to do to teach students with disabilities. Now we are mainstream teachers. I can really say that maybe the learning or the education that we gave to these learners somehow lack or are lacking. But we did try to give them a good school experience, a safe school experience with their classmates, with us teachers. We give them considerations. We try to involve them. What I did realize after the discussion on that research about the quality of life, it was very eye-opening for me, because one of my students, he is a PWD. And since our course offering is skills training in cooking, baking, food service, and plumbing installation, he is a plumbing student. Of course, his activities during the hands-on exercises are limited because he is a PWD. So the teacher still continues to encourage him, to give him simplified activities. But when it comes to the national assessment, we have a national assessment from a government agency to certify their skills. Of course, he will really fall behind, or perhaps maybe he will not be able to join or something. We were already anticipating that one. So true enough, because of the pandemic, there was no national certification because of the limited face-to-face. So what happened was, maybe that was a good sign, because the child will not feel excluded, because his other classmates also could not do the national certification. So what happened was, every night after the child graduated, every night the child would chat me. Hello, mom. How are you? Like that. How's life? Like that. And I would also respond, hello, hello. How are you? Also, how are you doing there in your place? No, he lives in the far flung rural area, and then he keeps on sharing. No, as we continue to communicate every night. This was after he already graduated. No, he was already while his classmates proceeded to college, he just stayed at home because financially his parents are not capable, and then it was also not safe for him to go to the city because he's a PWD. So I really noticed his frustration. Like he keeps on sharing how frustrating it is to be a PWD, how um he feels behind his classmates. He's jealous of his classmates, and even to the point that he is having he already showed his self-pity. He did not share his self-pity when he was still with us in school, because it was in school, it was fun. We tried to make him not different, but when he is now in reality, he was already outside the comfort of the school. He felt the exclusion and like he felt useless, and he felt like he has no future anymore. Like he cannot, there's nothing left for him to do. It's very, very sad. It really breaks my heart. Like I want to help him. I try to encourage him, but I would like to do more. And when I was able to attend a seminar with DepEd in the a national seminar with the big boss of our Department of Education, I shared this experience. I shared this concern. How can we help students with PWD after senior high school? Like there are no job. In reality, there are like in our place, there is no job opportunity for children with disabilities or PWDs. There is very little, only in big cities, and yeah, it's not safe for them to travel at a young age. So I asked the big boss, how can we help? And maybe I was lacking
Thank you, May.
yeah, with their answer. So
Yeah, thank you
that's
so
it.
much. Thank you so much for the sharing. And I think what you highlighted is indeed, I think many of us painfully realize, especially those working with the older youngsters, yeah, in the sense that like for the youngster that you work with, uh, he achieved his educational outcome, right? He was educationally successful. He completed his college, but that doesn't mean he could participate in life. And it's that almost it's like what some people call a cliff effect. You go climb, 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 and at the end of it, poop, it's a cliff. It's like falling off a cliff because there's no more support after school. And this is something that I know many places are really working very hard to improve. It's not easy because in a school environment, school is actually very, for whether you are disabled or not, school is a very much a relatively protected environment that is structured in place. But what you did that was correct was you advocated. May you advocated when you had the opportunity, you became the voice of the child. It may not be immediate, it may not be now, but I think if as teachers, where we can, we advocate constructive. Of course, we must be constructive and responsible and professional in our advocacy. And I think that's one way that we can at least perhaps help the wider ecosystem to make it a little bit better, yeah, to help them transition from school to life after school. Yeah, it's a very important point. Yeah. Salimatu Saleh, may I invite you to share? I see that you've raised your hand. Thank you. You need to, yes. Maybe unmute yourself, or maybe somebody can unmute
Okay,
you.
yeah. Oh, so
Okay, great. Thank you.
can anyone hear me?
Yes, a bit louder, please.
Okay. wabarakatuh, and a very good morning, everyone. My name is Salimatul from Brunei Darussalam. So just want to share something that we've done in Brunei recently, just last year, for the first time, relating to PWDs, basically. So it was the first time we had a dialogue session with a group of PWDs where they were assigned in groups. So they are mixed, like for example, they have students with a PWD, as well as share challenges. So it was very fascinating
May I ask that
because
maybe
we've never seen.
if you can maybe switch off your video, because let's see, because the streaming is lagging a little bit. If you switch off your video, maybe we can hear you better. Okay, right. Thank you. Maybe you can try speak louder.
All right, sorry about that. Is this better?
Much better. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
All
Good.
right. So okay, just to repeat a bit. So basically, they were in groups where they get to discuss challenges of being PWD in Brunei, and also to come up with ideas or suggestions to overcome those challenges. So because this was the first time this happened, it was very fascinating to see, because we've never seen them mingle with each other in one big room. And they gave so much fruitful points. Like, for example, they talked about how there is no representative of PWDs in the legislative council. And then, for example, they also talked about how they should be given more opportunities to prove themselves and for society to be more inclusive. And then how the school curriculum should include Braille or sign language to be part of the normal curriculum, not just for them. And then how, in terms of infrastructure of buildings, they say, like, how can they be independent if the infrastructure is disabling? So it's not them who are disabled, it's the society that are disabling. So that is a strong message that I got from that session. And what was nice also about this session was that there were representatives from different ministries, such as Ministry of Development, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Youth, Culture and Sports. So they get to hear directly from these individuals about their struggles, and they also get to share as well, like, what are their plans that they are trying to do. Like, for example, the Authority for Construction also shared that since 2018, they have established a guideline where all buildings should comply, that they need to provide accessibility infrastructures. So it's really nice to see this interaction, and I feel that this sort of engagement needs to be done more often everywhere in the world. So that's all I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you for the sharing, Salimatul Saleh, and really it's very heartening to see the efforts in Brunei to really take into account the voices and the perspective of persons with disabilities in terms of national planning. Right? What I hear from you is that the engagement session was to bring all the persons with disability together to hear from their perspective. And what was nice was this is also heard by people who are making the planning and planning for cities, planning for provisions, planning for services. And I agree with you, this is so important. And I know that in many places, this is also beginning to happen. And, you know, as more and more people realize the importance of including persons with disabilities in their planning, then that's why I think the idea of the ecosystem, right? Remember the Bronfenbrenner, the last circle was what? Anyone remember? You have microsystem, esosystem, mesosystem. The last one is macro system. Right? That's the larger policies infrastructure of the city. So that's the one that sometimes we feel is hard to reach. And then this is the one that makes us feel very helpless. But I think just like just now May shared, what can we do? We are just teachers. No, because you are teachers, because you have a direct, you are the one that faces a child every day. You are in the best position to actually hear their voice. And one thing you can do is be an advocate, or to be the one that makes the bridge, so that people who are who are planning, who are thinking about provisions, can actually hear their voices through you. Thank you so much. Okay. I want to move along because before we can come back to this when we do the question and answer. Yeah. I know this is a very interesting topic. I promise you I'll come back to this. We can come back to this when we do question and answer. Yeah. I want to actually maybe extend the conversation a little bit to think about by looking at this particular case study, because it highlights an important point that sometimes when we think about an intervention that we do, right? One intervention may be, wow, from one perspective, it is the most perfect intervention. It's ideal. But if we don't ask the person with disabilities, we may not really know whether, is this what they want? Is this what is going to make them feel happy? Yeah? Or make them feel fulfilled? Whether this will really improve or reduce their quality of life. So to do this, I want to share with you two videos. Both are about persons with hearing loss or deaf or hard of hearing. Right? Same disability, we are looking at, in both cases, the person is born with profound hearing loss, so they have no hearing. But very different intervention choices. For the first video, it illustrates a case of a child who actually went through cochlear implants. I don't know whether everybody is familiar with cochlear implants, but this is an intervention whereby if you have a child who's born with profound hearing loss, the doctors at the hospital will do a medical procedure, it's a surgery, to put in an implant that will allow the child to hear just like you and I. Okay, so to help you, for those who may not understand what cochlear implant means, I'll show you first a short video for those that have not heard of this intervention. Yeah. Okay, this is a simple one to show how cochlear implant works. Very short 1 minute video.
Cochlear implant system works. The Nucleus cochlear implant system is designed to mimic the functions of the human ear. Sound travels to your ear and the sound processor, which sits behind the ear. The microphones on the sound processor pick up sounds, and the processor converts them into digital information. This information is transferred through the coil to the implant just under the skin. The implant sends digital sound signals down the electrode into the cochlea. The hearing nerve fibers in the cochlea pick up the signals and send them to the brain, which is translated as the sound you hear. Unlike a hearing aid that simply amplifies sound, cochlear implants send sound directly to the hearing nerve and on to the brain.
Okay, so brief introduction, just in case for those of you who have not heard what is cochlear implant. Yeah. So if a child is profoundly deaf and then goes through surgery to put in the cochlear implant, he or she will not be signing. Yeah, he or she will actually go through therapy so that she can learn to speak just like how you and I are speaking right now, orally, yeah, and hourly. So some people go for this and some people do not go for this, they go for signing. And there are many reasons why one person go for one and not the other. Okay? So So the two videos I'm going to show with you is the first one shows a case whereby the child went through that and now is having a conversation with her parents. Right? So let's just listen to this conversation. This is a girl called Abigail and her journey, talking about her journey with her parents.
Fears about my future when you learned I was deaf?
We were scared for so many different things when we first found out.
What did you want me to hear the most when you knew I could hear with my cochlear implant?
Us, our voices. Remember,
Yeah,
we
because
were
you couldn't even
afraid.
say mom and dad at that point before, so the first time you called us mom and dad.
We were afraid we would never hear that.
What do you hope for my future now?
Well, we hope that we know you can achieve whatever you want to.
There's some lag in the video, but
You're determined and you persevere through your challenges. You know how important a good education is. You set your goals high.
Our initial fears when we found out that you were deaf were that you would never really be able to get a good education or miss out on so many opportunities because people would maybe think you're dumb because you can't hear, which isn't true at all. We were scared for so many different things when we first found out, and we always just wanted you to be able to live a normal life and have every opportunity that everybody else has in life. And to see how much you've grown and achieved in your life so far, we know that even though you're deaf, with your implants, you can do anything you want to do, and there's nothing that's going to hold you back.
What do you think about your future?
To be an audiologist and
Audiologist?
I'll work on that word.
Well, it's inspiring when we go for our sound check and there's an audiologist that
An audiologist that we know.
audiologist that has the eyes, right?
Yeah.
Why do you want to be an audiologist?
I think it would be cool to share my experiences with younger or older adults and kids, and like I want them to have like high standards for their life too. Like I hope I do too. So I do like to help kids. So I do want to help people learn how to speak sign language or just in general.
We're excited for that future for you.
Do you ever wish that we had never gotten the implants for you?
No, I think it was a really good decision. Really good.
That's good, because that was always my fear, was we're making this huge decision for you.
Am I gonna like it?
Are you going to
Am I
like it? Are
not
you
like
going to be happy that we made this decision? Because we can't turn back.
How do you feel knowing that you're deaf because of genetics?
I don't know. I just does it
And
matter?
if you have children yourself, they can be deaf as well.
It would be easier because I've had the experience throughout my life.
I think so too.
Yeah, I can help them out to go like in which paths to go for your life.
You don't have a fear of your children being deaf?
No, won't matter.
Okay. Any questions that you want to clarify before I show you the second video? Some of you are really touched, yeah, by that video, right? Written and Nur has narrated. In some ways, it's very inspirational, isn't it? Now, maybe notice the parents ask an interesting question. The parents shared that when she was young, they were not sure whether they made the right decision to put her through surgery to put the cochlear implant. Why do you think they are fearful? What would be a parent's fear? Why do you think they are we making the right decisions? We can write it in the chat. What do you think why is it that the parents have doubts that whether or not they're making the right decision? They asked just now, well, we don't know whether you're gonna like it. Rowena is right, because it is about the child's life, not theirs, right? May, because it's unfamiliar to them, probably. Sami Hatul is also correct. Maybe they thought it would be too overwhelming for the child. Correct. Sarah said maybe uncomfortable for her. Probably. I think maybe will it cause negative effects, right? Maybe, like what Sarah was saying, maybe because will it affect her drawback? What are the drawback and side effects? Yeah. Yvonne, interesting, you're saying, well, they can't really control what she end up hearing, probably. These are all the unintended effects, right? Okay, so maybe as what Chui Ping said, maybe they don't know whether it will work, and then it's all after going for surgery, maybe it won't work, right? Okay. So what I've used is correct. So assuming that there's no cost barrier, right? Of course, cochlear implant is expensive, but assuming that there's no cost barrier, assuming that it works well, what would be a reason why somebody, a child with hearing loss, as profound as that, would not want to have cochlear implant, would refuse cochlear implant? What could be the reason? Any thoughts? Say cochlear implants are now free and no side effects. Do you think everybody will then go for cochlear implant if there's no side effect, it's 100% safe, and it is free? Would everybody who's born deaf then say, yeah, definitely I will go for cochlear implant? Would there be any reason, even though it's safe and it's free, people still refuse it? If so, why? Why is that? All right, so I think for us to find out about that, we want to hear the voice of the persons who are deaf, right? Because we say if we want to know what we do and the impact on their quality of life, we must see things from their perspective. So this is the second video. This is a video of this is a special ed class. This is a college level class. It's special. It's not inclusive. It's all students who are deaf. And they and their teacher are talking about this issue, okay? Where the benefits, the impact of being deaf, and whether or not they want to go for a treatment that makes them not deaf. Okay, let's take a listen. Okay. Different perspective, right? So we are here talking about disabilities, and we talk about hearing loss as if it's a hearing impairment. From our perspective, and we are not wrong, it is an impairment, yeah? Something is wrong with it, so we see it as impairment. But from that conversation, to them, is being deaf a disability? No. What is deaf to them? It's their identity. It's their community, it's who they are. So if you think, yes, this intervention, we make it free, we give it to all, it's 100% good. You give the intervention, you think you're helpful, but you take away who they think they are, their identity and their perspective of who they are. You think that will increase their quality of life? Will your quality of life improve if someone takes away your entire identity? Something to think about, right? So I wanted to show that example is that even when something like that, if you just look at it from a very technical point of view, but with the cochlear implant, you can completely reverse the disability. You don't even need any accommodation. Just go for the surgery and you can talk like normal, right? And we see in the first video how happy they are. But even for the same disability, we cannot assume that the intervention that we think is the right one necessarily will be the one that will improve the person's quality of life. In fact, it may actually take it away completely. So I thought I wanted to share that as a great reminder for myself, right? And also for all of us, just to underscore the point of how important it is when we plan interventions and what we want to do for persons with disabilities. Okay, maybe you can share your thoughts. Faronia Fabian says one of them still seems you're right. So what it shows is that even within that community, there are one or two which is not so sure, right? Yeah, true. Because again, we cannot be sure. Just because you speak to one person with the one disability and you speak with another one with the same disability, you cannot assume that they have the same perspective. Because quality of life is that individual subjective perspective. It's that individual, how he or she perceives the impact of what we do to them on their life. So it's a very individual. Yeah, yes, Nurasina is very correct. It still go back to individual perspective. Okay. Maybe we can have some moments for question and answer before we move to the next segment. Anyone want to share their thoughts on anything we shared this morning so far? And let that, I know it's quite heavy, so let it sink in, let it reflect in your thoughts.
Anyone, just raise your hand. That was from a movie, right, Prof? Which movie was that?
I don't think it's a movie. I think it's one of the documentaries.
Oh, okay. Anyone would like to share?
I know some of you are teachers of students with hearing loss or deaf students.
Prof. Fatima Tuzara, would you like to share, Prof. Fatima Tuzara? Can we have someone from Thailand as well? Thailand or Cambodia or Laos? Prof. Fatima Tuzara, are you here? Yes, okay. Would you like to share, madam? She's teaching our students with hearing impairment. Hold on, I'll mute you. Okay, madam, you're ready. You turn on your camera as well so I can see you. All right.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
My name is Fatima Tizara. I'm from Putrajaya. I'm a primary school teacher. I'm teaching deaf pupils. I also have friends who are deaf, and some of them say that see that cochlear implants as a form of operation from their hearing world. And she said that some deaf people who get implants have been even have been shunned by their deaf community. That's why some of them think that the cochlear implant or the technology that that help them to hear again will make them what shun from their community. That is what they afraid the most.
Mm.
Then
Right. So
that is what told by my friends, by my deaf friends. But she also she also used the cochlear implant, and she's a teacher. She can talk and she can sign also, because she think that she need to learn the sign language, because some of the because in their communities there are some people, some deaf people who reject the technology. So that she think that she have to learn sign language so that they can communicate and they can be in the community.
right. Okay. Thank you.
What that is what happened to me here.
Thank you,
And
Chong.
okay, and one thing what was happening, there was one case in my school. The CI doesn't work and doesn't function well to the pupil, to one of my student. All right, and she is now 16, and she keep blaming their parents for giving her the cochlear implant. I told her that it's okay for her. If it doesn't work, you can learn. You can you can adapt to the community, both community, the typical as well as the deaf community. But sometimes she keep on blaming her parents for doing the CI operation for her. Okay, this is my experience, Prof.
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Fatima. I think it's really
Yeah.
yeah. I
Most
want to
most welcome.
your story actually to me is important because it highlights two things, right? Because just now we did say, someone said, maybe one of the reasons that people don't want to do is the technical or the medical side effects, right? The cochlear implant don't work, and then got maybe side effects or other functioning. So that's real. But I think what you highlight, what your friend highlight to you, is not the medical or the physical side effect, but the social side effect. So the cochlear may be perfect, but the social side effect is that the deaf community say, hey, you're trying to be different from us. You want to get away from the community, right? So they see it as, what you're doing is you are like insulting us. You're telling us that we're not good enough. Being like us is not good enough. So I think to me that's the social side effect, and that's harder than the medical or the physical side effect. What I really love about your friends is that she has shown us actually there is a way forward, right? Because people who have this very strong views is like all or none. You're either cochlear full speaking or not at all using signing. But she has gotten the best of both worlds. She used both. She has the cochlear so that she can fulfill her dreams to be a teacher of hearing and and as well as deaf students. But at the same time, what has she done? She learns the sign language. In other words, she is bimodal, right? So by learning the sign language, she can still connect with her community. So a way to still bridge with the community. So I thought, what a wonderful example. You're so blessed to have a friend like that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
We
Right.
have our next Miss Siti Shahira. She said she wants to share.
Yes, Siti.
Hello everyone. Hi, Professor. Can you hear me? Okay, so I am Shahira. I am currently a primary school teacher, which teaching the learning disability students. And one of my students, he had that cochlear implant. I'm not sure whether this is a sharing or a question that I would like to ask, but actually, I'm not really sure on how to help him because he cannot speak. He can hear, but he cannot speak, and sometimes he doesn't understand, um, and also he cannot involve in some activities, which includes the writing and all, because he doesn't know how to communicate, as in he doesn't know the sign language, and also he doesn't know how to speak, he doesn't know how to interact with others. So we teachers are not really sure on how to help him because most of us doesn't have any basic on sign language. So I would like to ask for your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Shahira. So remind me again, your preschool, is it a mixed preschool or just only for children who are who are deaf or hard of hearing?
Uh, it is mixed. Actually, we also don't know why was he in our school because it was supposedly to be focused on the learning disabilities with students with autism, Down syndrome, and all. But he is there, and his parents doesn't want to transfer him to the deaf school.
Understand? Okay. So I think that's and how old is he again?
9. He's 9.
Okay, he's 9. Okay. So thank
All
you.
right.
And again, because I've not seen the child, so whatever I say may or may not apply. But the thing about disabilities as a whole, yeah, is that sometimes children have very unique combinations of conditions. Okay? So there are many reasons why a child does not speak. Okay? You've said that they have checked for hearing. I've had some experience whereby some type of hearing checks show that they can hear no problem, but when you go for much more finer or accurate hearing check, then they will be discovered that they actually have a hearing issue. So it might be you may want to find out from the parents what type of hearing check do they go to. Right? There are many kinds of screening for hearing. I've even had cases whereby when the child was young, they first check for hearing, the normal check that they do by the nurses. Actually, it seems to be okay, but later on, the child did not speak, and they went to a specialist center and had it checked properly, and they found that the child has profound hearing loss. So that's one possibility, that he may, even though the first check say okay, there might actually be a problem. That's number one. Secondly, some children with autism do not speak, not because they cannot speak, but they don't want to. It's called selective mutism. Right? I put the word in the chat. They have this condition, right? So they have, and some children with autism, not all, but some children with autism, they have this condition. They can speak, but they refuse to speak. If that is a problem, then the treatment, they need actually therapy. Right? Those children cannot be forced, but continue to speak to the child, give the child alternative ways of communicating. If he doesn't want to use words, use cards, use picture cards. Siti Shahira, does your school use things like PACS, picture exchange communication? You're familiar with that? Okay. If you're not familiar with that, you can, for those of you who are hearing for the first time.
We did use PACS, But for this student, in the diagnosis, he was actually a slow learner.
So in my experience, even for children who are slow learners, if they're not speaking until 9, you should use something like PECS.
All right, surely we'll try that.
Yeah, because sometimes, and I've had experience working with some children with autism, when you use PECS and then they realize that, oh, they get more motivated to speak. Slowly, they can actually then start using speech over time, right? So PECS can be used for children, all children. It doesn't have to be only children with autism or children with intellectual disability. I'll go for that, right? Or sometimes communication board. So encourage the child, you speak to the child even though he doesn't speak well, and allow him to respond verbally, picture, gestures, whatever they need.
All right, sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Chang said children with selective mutism should see a psychologist. Yes, a psychologist is helpful. But then I am also aware that some places are blessed to have psychologists around. But if you work in a rural area, it's not so easy to get one. So my suggestion is that maybe what you can do is see what you can do within your vicinity, within your village. If you can get either a pediatrician or a specialist nurse, but don't wait for that, right? There's a lot of things that a teacher can do when you're working with a child with selective mutism. Like I said to Shiti, don't wait for the psychologist. Think about what you can do. How can I improve my communication with this child, whether he speaks to me or not? I use picture cards. I use communication boards. Okay, I type the word here so that you all can be the PhD by Google. Okay, you type this, you will see so many examples of communication boards, and you can make this, right? You can make communication boards, simple cards that allows the child to communicate to you what he wants by pointing. Can also. It's a first start while waiting for the parent to find the specialist, the doctor, or whatever it is. So Chan, you're right. In some cases of selective mutism is related to stress and anxiety, but for children with autism, it may not be related to mental health issue. It may be actually part of the symptoms, the secondary symptoms of autism. I work with quite a number of children with autism that have selective mutism, but as you improve their ability to communicate, you give them structure, actually they can speak and speak well because they understand much more than they can say that they want to say. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Maiza is correct. Give them time to answer and give them time to respond. All right, okay, thank you. Right, okay. I want to go down to the last segment before we break for lunch. And we've talked about students, we talked about parents, we talked about community. This time, I want to talk about you, the educator. You want to talk about yourself? Shall we talk about ourselves now, right? We care for everybody, but what about ourselves? Educator self-care. This is so important, and we need to spend time thinking about that. Why? Okay, I know it's COVID for the past 2 years. Very few of us get to travel anymore. But remember those times when you're in the plane, you see the video. What does it say? Put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on the children that you want to help. Okay, this is a very important message, not just on the plane but in life, and especially when you are an educator of learners with disability. Right? If you are not, we said so many times positivity, but how can you be positive if you are not okay? So don't think that. And sometimes maybe it's people who go into the teaching profession, right? There are special people that want to go into teaching, and many of the teachers that I know that go into teaching and dedicate their life to education, they are very other-centered. They are very selfless. Right? They're the people that not just the students, but when people ask for help, they'll be the first to help. Sometimes they give things that maybe they can't even afford. They give their time and their resources. They're always willing to help others. That's the trait of a true teacher, which is wonderful. But the danger is that you give yourself away until you have nothing left to give. And that's not what you want, because when you do that, you end up being not an effective educator or teacher. So remember yesterday we did the self-assessment, the checklist? Remember that? The 16 questions. Okay. Do you remember your total score? If you don't look at your those who write it on the side, look again at your checklist and what's your total score. You don't have to tell me your total score. Just make sure you know where it is. We're going to do another Kahoot now. And I want you to put down in this poll your total score. Okay, give me time as I load the,
Teacher, not in the chat box, in the Kahoot.
yeah.
Put your total score in the Kahoot, yeah? One moment, please. Prof is downloading.
So this is the,
Not in the chat box.
you want to maintain confidentiality. So it's good that those of you are confident enough to share your score, but click on the Kahoots first. You can put your, yeah. There's only one person who has, so can everybody look at the chat and click on the Kahoot link first? And then enter the game pin.
Prof, can you share the Kahoot link again?
Okay, I will do that.
I can't see the Kahoot link.
Okay.
Okay, one moment, please. So that all of you can type it in the...
Oh, sorry. Oh, I think maybe I didn't put it for everyone. Sorry, my mistake. I only give it to one person. All right,
Okay, there you go.
sorry about that. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Which one is your score? Red, blue, yellow, or green? But do it fast because it's only short time. So sorry about that. Yellow, blue, depending on your total score, click on the number. All right. Unfortunately, we didn't get so many, right? So shall we play it again? Or is this okay? What do you think, Sohaila? Shall we play it again?
Yeah, we shall play again, Prof, please.
Okay, because I think not many people get to do it. Okay, all right, so we play it again.
One more time.
So you know what to do now, yeah?
Do the same Kahoot link, right, Prof?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, click on the colors, Madam Aliza.
But be quickly, it's only 20 seconds, unfortunately. I should have timed it longer.
Now all the answers are coming.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a health check of how we are. Okay, it's wonderful, isn't it? The majority of us were feeling okay, right? It's good because I think it shows that many of us here today are actually having a good sense of balance. So although the work is challenging, many of you are telling me that it's very challenging, it's very difficult, but obviously you have things in your life, in your work environment that's helping you cope. Remember, the ability to good stress management is not about not having stress. It's having the support of the people and the things around you to help you overcome the challenges. So this is a good sign. For some of you, that's already a sign that you need to maybe monitor yourself a little bit. If you're 38, if you're blue here, you need to monitor a little bit, because if it continues, how you're feeling, you may want to then talk to somebody about it. If you're at 11, it means that you're feeling a high stress for quite some time already. So you may want to really take an extra effort to see what can be done. Okay? So 11 means you have been really stressed for quite some time. If you don't do something soon, don't get help, you need help. So do seek help, right? Because this is already at the danger level. Okay. And don't want to know, okay, this one is okay. When it comes to stress, don't follow the edict, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance can be dangerous, right? Because you don't know, and suddenly, something happens that you may surprise you and may actually cause serious problem. Okay. So if you don't want to know, my suggestion is maybe start noticing, spend some time. Just remember, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put others. Okay. I'll stop share for now. So we know just among ourselves here, there's variety. Some people are okay, and some people need help, and some people really need urgent help. So what can we do, right? What can we do so that we as educators have a network of support that is positive for ourselves? So to do that, I want to, and I mentioned it earlier this morning, we hear this word, it takes a village to raise a child. Okay? So here, we're going to learn about 5 self-care strategies for educators, specifically educators. Okay? It's called TRIBE, T-R-I-B-E. What I like about the word tribe is that it reminds us of that village, right? A tribe is a group of people who are connected together. So we here in this 190, we are a tribe. Why are we a tribe? Because we have the same passion, the same love, the same mission to help children with disabilities. And for the past 3 days, we've shared our experiences, our joys, our good stories. We've shared our challenges, our frustrations. So the people that you connect with, that you share the same, this is your tribe. Okay. So that's why I like the word tribe as a mnemonic, as a way to remember the 5 care strategies. So let's listen to it. And then as you learn, as you hear, I want you to think about these 3 questions. Okay. TRIBE stands for, number 1, T means team up. R, reach out for help. I, intervene early. B, break the cycle. And E, express gratitude. Okay. So as you listen to the video and they describe each of the 5 components of the tribe, I want you to think about your own needs as an educator in your school. For each one, how satisfied are you about each aspect? For each one of these, what help and support do you need to improve things for each of these for yourself? Okay? And what immediate steps you can take to make things better for you when it comes to these 5 components of tribe. Okay? Okay. So let's see the video. We'll be having the discussion after lunch, but I want you to think about this. If you need to write these questions down, perhaps maybe somewhere, because once I show the video, you don't see the 3 questions here. So if you can write down the question somewhere. Those of you who are in the Zoom room, if you look at your materials for day 3, the questions are in the handouts given to you. So please look at them. Ready? Suhaila, you ready?
Yes, Prof. Ready to go.
So let's do this.
For Sharifah kan, I must say that you are a very observant teacher, you know, because whenever I'm trying to do some other work, right, you'll be like, Suhaila, okay, okay, I have to come back to you. So like, Kanto, how do you know?
Yeah.
You
Like,
have that, like, that's
I
amazing.
think I'm not the only teacher here that, you know, as teachers, if you have been teaching for almost 30 years, like Mr. Share just now, you have eyes here, eyes here, eyes here, eyes here, eyes here, right? Even on the back, right, teachers, right? That's the secret of being teachers. If you stay in the profession for a long time, you have eyes all over, right? Okay, right, okay, I think I got it up. Let me see again. Okay, right. So let's see. I hope you got the questions, and then we're gonna listen to this video. Okay.
Hello, teachers. Today, we will learn about TRIBE, the 5 self-care strategies for educators. In this pandemic, many teachers themselves face challenges and difficulties. But most teachers often put their students' interests and needs before themselves. They are often not very good at heeding the advice to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before helping others. But we know that how well we can help others to feel okay depends on whether we too feel okay with ourselves. I'm okay, you're okay. That's the goal that we want every teacher to have when we are in a crisis situation. In this video, we will talk about 5 important steps that educators, parents, and caregivers can take to address the needs of their own well-being during crisis situations such as this pandemic. We will use the acronym TRIBE, T-R-I-B-E, to talk about these 5 self-care strategies. First is T for team up. You should never walk alone in this pandemic. When we first joined the profession as educators, we feel that we didn't just find a job, we found a group of people that share the same interest in education and passion for teaching children. In other words, we found our teacher tribe. During the pandemic, this teacher tribe must huddle together and support each other even more. So teachers, during and after this pandemic, you must stay connected with each other. This may include setting aside protected time to meet and talk with fellow teachers about your daily experiences. Reach out to colleagues who can provide a listening ear and be a mentor for you. This can also be a platform where information about the pandemic can be shared, including clearing up any misconceptions and misinformation. This protected time should be regular, such as weekly. It can be in school or via online platform, or even a WhatsApp group. Most importantly, this platform is where you can feel safe to express your feelings, anxieties, and frustrations about the crisis, as well as a place that you can feel free to celebrate your small successes in overcoming difficulties. Next is R for reach out for help. In Chapter 1, we learned about the signs of stress. When you see the warning signs that your stress level is too high, you must seek help immediately from the right sources. I, for intervene early, is very important. It is not helpful to be a martyr. Do not feel that you have to suffer in silence. If you are having psychosomatic signs such as poor sleep, increased heart rate, and loss of appetite, see your family physician and get the medical help that you need immediately. Next is B, for break the cycle of anxiety with good daily habits. In Chapter 1, we discussed many of the good daily habits that you can do to break the cycle of anxiety. We talked about starting the day right with good morning routines, ending the day right with good sleep hygiene, exercising and keeping in touch with nature, activating the parasympathetic response that gives us a sense of completion and satisfaction. These can help break the cycle of anxiety and prevent it from becoming chronic. Finally, E, for expressing gratitude. In Chapter 2, we learned that positive self-talk, especially expressing gratitude, can be a powerful protector against toxic stress. So make the expression of gratitude a culture in your teacher tribe. For example, start or end each day with a positive tone by making a gratitude list, a list of the things that we are thankful for. This can be simple things such as, I was able to go to work on time today and return home safely. I had a good lunch today. My colleagues greeted me well today. I helped one person today. Studies have shown that people who are filled with a sense of gratitude feel more positive emotions, enjoy better health, and are better able to deal with adversity and build strong relationships. As educators, when you have found your tribe, you will feel strengthened and empowered, especially during a long-drawn period of uncertainty, such as this COVID-19 pandemic. We need to strengthen our network of support. This illustration by a talented educator, Sylvia Duckworth, nicely captures the positive ripple effects when teachers are able to find their tribe. You will feel inspired and energized. You feel that your ideas and opinions matter, and so you become more motivated to share ideas. You feel accepted, appreciated, and emotionally nourished. You know that you can turn to your tribe at any time for help, and they will not judge you. With your tribe members, you share personal beliefs and talk on the same wavelength. With a tribe, you'll never feel alone. This video is about you, teachers, taking care of yourselves through TRIBE. That is, team up, reach out, intervene early, break the cycle of anxiety, and express gratitude. Thank you for watching.
Okay. Okay, teachers. Do you have your tribe? Do you know who your tribe are? Are we a tribe? Your breakout groups, are they a tribe too? These are all possibilities, isn't it? Whether or not you have a tribe, it's actually up to you, right? So what we want to do from now, and then we can continue the conversation later, is that after listening to it, hang on, let me share slide again. I want to give you some time before lunchtime to actually do the self-reflection. Okay? Take the next half hour. You hear the tribe dimension, team up, reach out, intervene, break, etc. So you ask yourself, for each of these, are you satisfied at the extent to which you can team up with others? Or reach out for others. Intervene early for your own needs. This intervene early is not for the students, but for your own needs. If you have a problem, can you intervene early? Do you have enough support to break the cycle? Do you feel that you can break the cycle in a good way? Are you satisfied with the extent to which you can break the cycle of anxiety for yourself? And what do you think about expressing gratitude? Do you feel that this is something that you already do and you're satisfied or not? Right? And for each of these strategies, what help and support do you need to be able to do that better? Of course, especially for the ones that you rate 1, 2, and 3, right? think about what help and support do you need in order to do all this better. Think about support from your family, from your school, from your colleagues, and maybe even from Sing Dosan. Think wide, right? Think of the wide ecosystem. So once you think about that, then from all the possibilities, are there any things that you thought about that you think, okay, out of the 5 things I think about what I need, maybe the one first step that I do to help this is, what is the immediate next step that I think I want to do or I can do? Are you clear about the task? Yeah, okay, any questions about the task? Look at it, think about whether you have questions about the task. If not, then I will let you to do this self-reflection on your own, and then we can go for lunch. We'll come back at 2 o'clock, yeah, where we will start the discussion group in the group activity. Is that okay, Sulaila, or do you want them to come back a bit later, a bit earlier?
I'm okay if they want to come back at 2.
Yeah.
Boleh lah, Prof. Boleh, you can come back at 2. Is it okay with you, Prof?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay.
No questions.
that-
Okay, it seems like the instructions are clear.
Okay, good. So the instructions are clear. I'll leave this on, and while you do your self-reflection, and then you can go on to have your lunch and come back at 2 o'clock.
Do
Okay?
they have to present, Prof?
No, we'll come back first. There'll be a breakout activity. I will give instructions for the breakout activity.
Later.
And the breakout activity will be based on what you write on this. So you must do this, huh? So you must come to, after lunch, you must fill this up first on your own. This is individually, by the way. Yeah? This is individual reflection first.
Okay.
And once you fill this up, you come back after lunch, then we'll have a follow-up activity after lunch. Okay?
Okay, Prof.
All right.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof. To our viewers on Facebook and YouTube, thank you so much for joining us for the session day 1, day 2, and day 3. We hope you have learned a lot from these training sessions with Prof. Dr. Sharifah Mariam Aljuni, and we look forward to more sessions with all of you in the near future. Okay, next will be in May. We have a webinar. Okay, so look forward to that. Thank you so much for joining us on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you. And to our teachers here in Zoom, do come back later at 2 o'clock. In the meantime, have a good rest. See you. Bye-bye. Thank you.